Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à l'ETS. Pour ceux qui ne me connaissent pas, je m'appelle Lotfi Chouaning, conseiller à la recherche au décanat de la recherche à l'ETS. Et j'aime bien appeler l'ETS le MIT du Québec. Just Chris, we are not competing with MIT. It's a very small MIT in Quebec here. Un grand merci pour Christopher Noble, un expert en technologie transfert connu mondialement, qui travaille à MIT, pour venir ici, malgré son cédule qui est très serré. Il doit partir, prendre l'avion aujourd'hui à 3 heures. Son fils se gradue de MIT demain matin. Alors, un grand merci. L'histoire a commencé quand j'ai rencontré Christopher plusieurs fois aux États-Unis lors de la conférence ATM, Association of University Technology Managers, ou bien LES, Licensing Executive Society. C'est très important de croiser des gens avec un background très riche, 30 ans d'expérience en tech transfert. Je laisse Chris, il va vous parler de son expérience. Et je lui ai invité, je lui ai dit, ça t'intéresse-tu de venir à l'ETS, de nous dire comment ça fonctionne, l'écosystème d'innovation à MIT? Et j'étais surpris, il a dit oui, on va regarder ça. Et ça fait maintenant 1 mois et demi qu'avec Chris, on échange des courriels et finalement, c'est réalisé aujourd'hui. Je remercie l'équipe Substance ETS, IEEE Montréal, tout le monde qui a organisé cette conférence. Il y a presque 250 personnes qui ont fait l'inscription. On attend d'autres personnes qui vont arriver. Pour être honnête avec vous, au début, j'ai voulu limiter ça aux professeurs et aux étudiants de l'ETS. Mais vu j'ai reçu des courriels que tout le monde veut assister, alors on a envoyé l'information à tous nos partenaires, les universités du Québec, les sociétés de valorisation, les sociétés de propriété intellectuelle, et vous êtes le bienvenu ici à l'ETS. Alors, je vous laisse 5 minutes ou 4 minutes, mieux de que parler de l'ETS. Je vous montre un vidéo intéressant qui représente notre école. Ça, la vidéo. Voilà. Excusez-moi. Merci. Alors, quand j'ai dit que l'ETS c'est le MIT du Québec, il y a une raison derrière ça. L'ETS, à mes connaissances, c'est la seule université, même au Canada, qu'on a plus de 60% de nos projets de recherche se font en partenariat avec les petites et moyennes entreprises. Ne parlons pas des grandes entreprises comme Bombardier, Pratt & Whitney, etc. Et on est très connus dans des axes de recherche. Aujourd'hui, dans la salle, on a le professeur Jacques Deguise, qui est très performant avec des compagnies mondialement connues comme EOS dans le domaine imagerie médicale. Alors, je laisse la parole au doyen de la recherche, professeur Charles Despins, pour vous donner quelques chiffres sur l'ETS avant de donner la parole à Christopher Noble.
Donc, merci Lotfi. Donc, d'entrée de jeu, je voudrais remercier notre conférencier Christopher Noble de se joindre à nous aujourd'hui dans un horaire qui est très, très chargé. Je serais très intéressé d'écouter la présentation. Je suis sûr également que tout le monde ici le sera également. Merci à Lotfi pour l'organisation de l'événement, Substance ETS également. Et Lotfi a l'occasion de présenter la vidéo de notre conférencier sous peu. Juste curieux de savoir, je pense qu'il y a quand même plusieurs gens, je reconnais les visages de l'interne à l'ETS. Combien de gens ici ne sont pas de l'ETS? Oh, donc, quand même plusieurs. Donc, presque la moitié de la salle. Donc, la vidéo que vous avez vue, donc bienvenue à l'ETS, d'entrée de jeu, Welcome to ETS. La conférence sera en anglais dans quelques instants, so if you don't understand French very well, no worries. The conference will be in English. Et le conférencier a l'occasion, je crois, de répondre en français ou en anglais à toutes les questions. Mais dans la vidéo que vous venez de voir, en fait, je regardais sur la vidéo, puis ça a été produit pour notre 40e anniversaire. C'est-à-dire que ça a été produit en 2014. Et je regardais sur la vidéo, on inscrivait 7600 étudiants en 2014. Et l'institution est en très forte croissance, c'est un témoignage éloquent de tout ça. C'est qu'en 2017, on n'en a pas 7600, on en a 10 600. Ce qui fait aujourd'hui de l'ETS la deuxième plus grande école de génie au Canada et fort probablement l'année prochaine la plus grande école de génie au Canada avec 8000 étudiants au premier cycle et 2600 étudiants au cycle supérieur. Donc, toute une masse critique qui s'assemble ici aujourd'hui. Et à l'ETS et dans une institution qui se veut vraiment présente dans son milieu. Et justement, c'est une institution qui, par opposé à d'autres institutions universitaires au Québec, a choisi de ne pas se délocaliser. Il y a des universités qui créent des campus satellites. Ici, on a fait un choix, dans d'autres villes, par exemple, ici, on a fait un choix vraiment sciemment là, de ne pas aller s'installer ailleurs, même si on accueille des étudiants, notamment au premier cycle, de partout au Québec. Et ça, c'est très important parce qu'on veut créer ici, autour de l'ETS, réellement une culture de recherche et d'innovation qui va profiter au Québec, à l'ensemble du Canada, et qui va attirer des gens d'un peu partout. Et effectivement, notre clientèle au deuxième et troisième cycle est également extrêmement internationale. Et on entendra parler un petit peu plus tard dans la présentation, vraiment de concepts au niveau du transfert technologique. Comme institution universitaire, puis je crois que c'est quelque chose qu'on partage, on en parlait un petit peu plus tôt, le transfert technologique, au-delà des questions légales, des questions contractuelles qui sont évidemment très importantes, le transfert technologique, ça se fait avec des gens. Une institution universitaire, sa mission, c'est de former des gens. Et c'est ce qu'on fait évidemment ici. On les forme par la voie magistrale au premier cycle, par la recherche au deuxième et troisième cycle. Et le transfert technologique, c'est vraiment une question d'individus, de gens, d'étudiants. Et les étudiants sont ultimement la source de la migration des compétences vers l'entreprise, qu'elle soit grande ou petite, et ultimement également une source d'entrepreneurship. Et dans nos partenariats de recherche, Lotfi en a fait allusion justement, dans nos partenariats de recherche et dans toutes les activités de recherche à l'ETS, 60% de la recherche financière à l'ETS, 60% du financement vient de sources privées. C'est quand même un chiffre assez hallucinant. Donc, c'est un témoignage éloquent, je dirais, de l'attrait que pose l'institution pour les entreprises, qu'elles soient grandes ou petites. Donc, voilà, j'en dirai pas plus et je vais vous laisser avec notre conférencier. J'espère que vous apprécierez l'événement aujourd'hui. Je crois que ce sera fort intéressant. Moi, j'ai bien hâte d'entendre ça. Et donc, merci encore de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui. Je cède la parole à Lotfi pour présenter notre conférencier.
Ouais, merci, Charles. Christopher a beaucoup de choses à dire dans sa biographie. Et il est né ici à Montréal, donc il a des souvenirs. Je vais le laisser parler de sa biographie lors de sa présentation. Mais une chose à dire, qu'il est le vice-président de l'association Association of University Technology Managers. Il est très connu aux États-Unis parmi les gens qui sont impliqués dans le transfert technologique et la commercialisation des technologies universitaires. Alors, l'intérêt de l'ETS, il y a une dynamique, il y a de l'argent, il y a beaucoup de VC, il y a beaucoup de startups autour de MIT. L'ETS est dans le centre de Griffintown, the oldest industrial city. On est dans le quartier d'innovation, un projet McGill ETS. On a des sociétés de startups très performantes dans le Syntec. On a le directeur de Syntec qui est ici. Alors, on veut apprendre un peu de l'expérience de Christopher lui-même et de ce dynamisme de MIT. You are welcome, Christopher.
Merci, Charles. Merci. Bonjour tout le monde. Je peux monter. Ouais. Ouais, c'est ça. Vous m'entendez bien, tout le monde? I'm going to make a few remarks in French first, and then I'll make my talk in English and take questions in French and English. Alors, il faut que je commence en français parce que l'autre fille, quand il m'a demandé de venir vous parler, il ne savait pas que j'étais montréalais. Il ne savait pas que m'inviter à revenir à Montréal, ça serait vraiment fantastique pour moi. Alors, mais il y a un aspect qui a à voir avec cette présentation. Alors, juste pour me présenter, je suis québécois typique, ce qui veut dire que j'ai une famille très compliquée. Mon père était anglophone Westmountais, sur la montagne. Ma mère était française de France. Ils se sont rencontrés après la Deuxième Guerre mondiale à Paris et ils ont formé leur famille ici à Montréal, où j'ai été élevé dans l'école primaire en français, secondaire en anglais. Ensuite, j'ai fait McGill et je suis parti tout de suite après. Pas parce que je voulais quitter le Québec, mais j'ai été recruté par une compagnie pétrolière qui m'a envoyé dans le monde. Et c'était vraiment une occasion vraiment exceptionnelle pour moi. Je suis ensuite allé à Boston pour aller à l'école de gestion de MIT. Et je suis resté là. J'étais très content là, mais j'ai toujours gardé mes relations avec Montréal, mes relations avec McGill. Je commence à découvrir l'ETS et c'est vraiment, vous avez un environnement ici absolument fabuleux. D'ailleurs, je disais à Charles, je pense que je peux autant apprendre de vous que peut-être vous donner quelques idées de ce qu'on fait. Donc, je vais passer à l'anglais. Je pense que c'est une bonne idée de toute façon parce que d'abord, j'ai plus de facilité professionnelle. Le vocabulaire est assez précis dans ce qu'on fait. Et je pense que donc c'est bon d'avoir ce genre de dialogue en anglais qui est la langue dans laquelle on parle de tout ça dans le monde entier. Bon, alors on va voir si ça marche. Alors, on a on a 1h30. Vous pouvez poser des questions pendant la présentation, si c'est un point spécifique que je n'ai pas très bien expliqué, mais vous verrez que les différentes parties de ma présentation se rejoignent. Oh, excuse, I have to pass to English. C'est tellement agréable de parler français. Yeah, okay. I am sorry. I kept on going in French. If you have questions of details that I'm not explaining very well, please ask them during the presentation. But you'll find that the different themes that I talk about are quite connected. And so if you have general questions, you might find that it's good to wait and then ask them at the end. So let me make sure that I'm... Okay, so I'm going to dive right into it. This is MIT, the campus right on the Charles River. Is there a pointer here? Yeah. This is the Charles River. Behind, on the other side, is Boston, Cambridge. And it's a pretty big campus because we have 10,000 students like you, but most of them are graduate students. 66,500 are graduates. The rest are undergraduates. Our ecosystem is very small. My office is in this building here. I can walk from here to there in 10 minutes. Okay, all our incubators, all the venture capital groups, the advisors. We are very, very dense by choice. You have to rub elbows with everybody. You go out for lunch, you run into somebody who you haven't seen for a while. And so I just wanted you to see the scale of when we talk about entrepreneurial ecosystems, at least for us, what we're talking about. This is, I've already talked about myself, so I'm going to dive immediately into an example because, as you were saying, it's all about people. And what I want to do first is to tell you about the people behind this startup that spun out of MIT. And I think there's a few lessons in this story. And it's about people, individuals, with their dreams, with their capabilities, the way they meet, which is sometimes by chance, and how the ecosystem is a part of that. So the first person in this story, his name is Kripa Varanasi. Kripa did his undergraduate engineering in India and then came to MIT to do his PhD in 2004. After he got his PhD, he went to work for industry. He didn't go into academia immediately. He went to work for GE Global Research. But then after a few years of working in research and industry, he joined the faculty and started doing research at MIT. And one of his graduate students was this gentleman, Dave Smith. So Dave Smith starts his PhD in 2009, and he decides that he's going to work on hyper-slippery surfaces. And this is a ketchup bottle with ketchup that can slide out of it, but think about cholesterol in your arteries, think about oil in a pipeline, think about lubricants in industrial processes. Dave Smith got founding funding for his PhD from the National Science Foundation and from the Department of Defense. 60% of your funding is from the industrial sector, which I have never come across an institution that has such a tight connection with industry. Ours is about 20%. 80% of our funding comes from government agencies, and typically, like is typical, Dave's PhD started to be funded by NSF and Department of Defense. Now, very quickly, Dave wanted to be an entrepreneur. In fact, he told me that when he came to MIT to do his PhD, he wanted to find a topic that he might turn into a startup after getting his PhD. And so during the process, he started working with a lot of the clubs and groups that are part of our entrepreneur ecosystem. The first one here is iTeams. iTeams is a class that brings together students from our business school and students from the engineering school to learn about entrepreneurship. Another one that he started working with is the Venture Mentoring Service. The Venture Mentoring Service is a group of entrepreneurs and advisors who informally get together once a month, and students or new entrepreneurs come and just tell them what they're working on, what kind of problems they're facing, and the Venture Mentoring Service does exactly that. They provide mentorship to ventures. Then they had a pretty big breakthrough. Dave and the other members of his team, there were 2 other graduate students, entered a competition called the 100K entrepreneurial competition, and they didn't win it, but they got the Audience Choice Award. Now, let me give you a little secret about entrepreneurial competitions. For us, the purpose of an entrepreneurial competition for us is not to pick a winner. Of course, we will pick a winner, and in this case, there's quite a lot of money involved. But what we are really trying to do is to encourage as many teams as possible to enter the competition, to get feedback, to get advice, and to get visibility. All the teams have to present. The presentations are put on video, on YouTube, and we want to give all the teams experience, visibility, connections, and incidentally, we will choose a winner. But choosing the winner is not the purpose of the competition. And the Audience Choice Award was key for this group. Their video of the ketchup bottle went viral on YouTube, tens of thousands of hits, and all of a sudden, people started calling them, investors started calling them. So, then this group decides, okay, we really want to spin out. When Dave finishes his PhD, they took a formal program during the summer called the Founders Skill Accelerator Program at our Entrepreneurship Center. This introduces the third person I wanted to talk about in this story. Colin Gowden is a serial entrepreneur. He's an advisor to startups. He is an angel investor. He was on the jury of the Entrepreneurship Center program. He met this team, he was intrigued, and he started talking to them. He got to know them. It was the idea that he might provide the initial funding to the company and help them raise money from venture capitalists. By the way, just to show how small this whole universe is, most of Colin's time is spent as CEO of a Montreal-based high-tech company. So he's up in Montreal much more often than I am. But I've known Colin for years, and he had already been involved in lots of these companies at MIT. Then, with the help of this growing team, this group won the top prize in a much bigger and more visible competition. And by 2014, the company was launched, and they raised their first venture capital round. So I want you to see what all the various organizations that are part of our ecosystem that participated in helping this group of people accomplish their dream together, and the kinds of people involved. By the way, Dave now is CEO of this company. Kripa Varanasi continues to be a faculty member at MIT and is an advisor to the company. Typically, our faculty are very involved in helping startups, but they don't leave the university. They become advisors to the company. I will talk a little bit later about the roles that faculty play in the startups relative to students. I think this is an important element. Okay, so we have a lot of student groups. MIT is not a tops-down kind of culture. There are lots of groups that are forming and dissolving that have overlapping charters. We are very tolerant of groups that have fuzzy overlapping charters. Okay, it's an ecosystem. It's a lot of plant life that's growing. It's a bit chaotic. But we like it that way because we're all so close to each other that everybody knows what's going on. Groups are forming all the time. We help them. We give them visibility. We don't provide them generally with financial assistance, but the culture of the university helps student groups evolve. We also have university-based resources for entrepreneurs, and you already saw a few of these were used by the Liquid Glide group. There are others, and I'll talk a little bit about some of these as we go on. These are groups that are organized by the university, that are funded by the university, that provide assistance to entrepreneurs. And of course, my office, since I made this slide, I put the Technology Transfer Office of MIT where I work right in the middle, not because we are central to it, but I want to talk a little bit about the role that technology transfer plays in all of these activities. We also have a pretty big corporate presence around MIT. We encourage companies to open offices in our area. We work closely with the city of Cambridge to make the area around MIT attractive for companies. We've actually now run into a problem that the ecosystem around MIT is becoming too expensive for the startups. And the startups are starting to move away from our ecosystem because they can't afford to open offices near us. So this is maybe an inevitable problem of trying to create a very dense space where people want to be. But it's a good problem to have. And I'll talk a little bit later about the benefits of entrepreneurship for large corporations. This is something that is really emerging now, and very important for everything we do. A recent event in our ecosystem is General Electric, a worldwide company that used to be headquartered in rural Connecticut, in the outskirts of New York City. They're moving their entire headquarters to Boston because they want to be physically close to entrepreneurial ecosystems. Not because they want to acquire more small companies, but because they want to be in the neighborhood of small companies that they can partner with. And these bridges between large companies and startups, I think, is a key opportunity, and one I think that you here at ETS are in an absolutely fantastic location and time for. I want to talk a little bit about incubators. You all know what incubators are. I'm learning a bit about ETS, and you have an incubator across the street. These are some examples. Actually, there's 5 of them. This is most of the incubators around MIT. We have a lot of incubators around MIT. You will notice, maybe if you look carefully, that none of these organizations are part of MIT. We don't have an incubator at MIT. And people will say, should a university have an incubator? Well, the answer is it depends. It depends on the ecosystem around you. We like the fact that there are healthy incubators right outside our campus. We're not going to start an incubator to compete with them. Okay, if we were in a different geographical place where there weren't incubators in the ecosystem around us, we would start our own incubator. The message here is that there are some commonalities between universities and principles and things we should do, but every university is also in a unique situation and needs to adapt its strategy to the ecosystem around it and to be a player and a supporter of the entire ecosystem. So this is just one example that in the case of incubators, you won't find any incubators at MIT on the campus because we want to support the incubators that exist right outside our doors, sometimes 2 blocks away or half a mile away. So let's talk about technology transfer, which is the professional activity that I do at MIT. By the way, I spent the first 10 years of my professional career working for large companies in technical work first and then in M&A type of work. And then I went to the startup world. I was a founder of 2 startup companies, and I also spent a lot of time raising money for startups in the Boston area basically as a financial consultant. And it was 8 years ago that I was recruited by MIT to manage all their energy technology. And I decided that first of all, they wanted to MIT recruits, the people who do the work that I do have either a lot of experience in industry or a lot of experience in the startup world, or both. We tend to be late career people who do the kind of work that I do. We're not career university people. So I'm sort of typical of this kind of activity, and also my particular interest is environmental technology, so that was my path. But maybe because I came to technology transfer rather late in my career, I'm very passionate about it. As Lutfi was saying, I'm very active in our professional society. I think that what we do has a very important social value, and I'll talk a little bit about that, because we need to work very closely with the private sector, with venture capital groups, with enterprise, but without ever forgetting that we are universities, we are nonprofits with a social mission, with a mission of academic freedom, of freedom of publication. And it's extremely important for us to navigate between the sort of foundational social and intellectual principles of the university whilst maintaining and growing these very important relationships with the private sector. And I think that the technology transfer offices have a very, very important role to play in that balancing act. So this is a slide from our professional society in the US, AUTM, that some of you may have seen. It's the virtuous circle of technology transfer, right? There's innovation, you assess the innovation, you protect the invention, you market it, you find a company that's interested in licensing it, then that creates a link to the university. The company that licensed the technology can now sponsor more research at the university, and the circle, we are trying to create this virtuous circle. And if you look at the stats, it's pretty encouraging. What's particularly encouraging is the impact that this virtuous circle is having on the private sector. I think in general, if you look at the amount of technology that's been made use of by the private sector and the number of jobs that have been created and the number of startups that have been started, it's encouraging and it continues to grow. But there's other aspects of technology transfer that are important to talk about, especially in the university environment. It is not generally a profitable activity for the university, okay? The technology that universities develop is very high risk. It's very speculative. A PhD student and the faculty member who advises that PhD student will not pick a topic where the solution already exists, right, by its nature. The work that is done in universities is risky. Some of it will fail. Some of it will not achieve the results that we hope. It's done over many years, and so sometimes there's no clear market for the work that's being done. And the process of commercializing the technology is also can be somewhat haphazard. It may be difficult to obtain a patent. There may not be a company that's immediately interested in licensing the technology. If there's a possibility for a startup, the work has to be done by people who actually want to start a company. And all those alignments don't always operate. And so what we and other universities have found is we cannot rely on technology transfer to be a revenue generator for the university. It has a huge impact around us, but with a few exceptions, if there are some sort of home run hitters, it's generally not a profitable enterprise. And also, the revenue that comes from tech transfer is spread pretty widely. We tend to be incentivizing the inventors, so we distribute quite a lot of the revenue from the licensing to the inventors of the technology. But the university has many needs, and the money that's left over, it tends to be spread out pretty widely. And so if I was giving, well, let me ask, how many people in this audience work in technology transfer? Okay. So if you were the only people in this audience, my message to you would be, it's extremely important for you to make the administration of your universities understand the complete impact of what you do. Okay, if all of us face the situation of having the provost say, how much money did you make for me last year, right? And so we try to make money for our provost. But our impact on the university and on the ecosystem around us is much greater than that. And I want to talk, and by the way, and I'm not only referring to non-financial impact, I'm talking about actually direct financial impact from other sources than licenses. But I want to talk a little bit about this topic. So is technology transfer really worth it for the university? Well, what is it? You know, what are we trying to measure? And are we talking about money back to the university? Well, let's look at that. Or are we talking about something else? Let me show you a little bit of statistics about our portfolio at MIT. The first thing which, if you are familiar a bit with the history of MIT, you might find surprising, is that we are now doing more life science research at MIT than physical science research. If you had seen this slide even 20 years ago, it would have been dominated by physical science, which is the core origin of MIT. And we don't have a medical school at MIT. Most of the life science research in American universities is done in universities that have medical schools. Well, we don't have a medical school, but we have half a dozen big teaching hospitals in the Boston area. There has been a revolution in genomics and other sort of information-based life sciences, and we're good at information technology. And also there's an enormous connection between advanced biochemistry and nanotechnology and life sciences. And so our connection with the ecosystem of the teaching hospitals in the Boston area has led to a huge increase in the amount of research that's being done at MIT in life sciences. We have always had about the same proportion of software versus hardware type of research. That proportion continues to be stable at MIT. Also, pretty constantly, if you look at these stats, you will see that we obtain licenses on about 50% of the patents that we file. Okay, and that has been a pretty constant yield. We won't file patents on every invention disclosure that we receive, but we're able to license about 50% of the patents that we file. So 50% of the patents that we file don't end up in licenses. So could you ask the question, well, if that's the case, is only half of the IP that we filed actually successful? Well, let me show you a few other stats. I think, Lefty, you were saying, did you receive about 40 invention disclosures a year? Okay, so we have become, we're an invention machine at MIT. This is something we've worked on for 50 years, very consistently. And also, this is an important point, we recruit entrepreneurial graduate students, and we recruit entrepreneurial faculty. We want to recruit the PhD students who are interested in starting companies and who have wanted to start, who like Dave Smith in the first slide that I put up. Dave Smith wanted to be an entrepreneur. He wanted to do a PhD that would lead to entrepreneurship. And so we recruit a lot of students who want to start companies and who want to give us invention disclosures. So we receive about 800 invention disclosures a year from the MIT community. Our research budget is about $1 billion, actually about 750 million on the main campus. So one way to look at this is we receive an invention disclosure for every $1 million of research funding that occurs in the university. And that ratio has scaled pretty constantly from over the last 10 years because of the growth in our research budget. By the way, in that period, the number of students at MIT has remained flat. As a matter of fact, the number of students at MIT has been flat for probably 30 years now, about 4,000 undergraduates, about 6,500 PhD students. And most of the master's students are on their way to the PhD. And you can see that our issued patents has sort of scaled the same way. Now, if you're pretty quick in terms of doing the calculations, that I had told you that we get about 50% of the patents that we have are licensed, and we get 800 disclosures a year, right? So you can see that about 1/3 of the invention disclosures that we receive turn into a patent. And the other 2/3, either we believe we shouldn't file a patent on, or we're unsuccessful in obtaining a patent. So that's sort of what the funnel looks like, about 800 invention disclosures a year. We're filing about 500 or so, 400. We're getting a yield of about 200 or so, and we are licensing about half of those. So we're doing about 100 licenses a year. And of those 100 licenses, about 1/3 are to startups. I will go into that part of the funnel a bit more. I also realized that I'm giving you a lot of, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, I'm giving you a lot of slides with a lot of information, so maybe I can give you my slides afterwards, and the people who participated in this conference can get a copy of the slides. And I'll also tell you right now that my email address is on the last slide, and I will make a commitment to everybody in this audience. If you send me a personal email with an interesting, insightful comment about my talk, I promise to answer any questions that you send me in your email as well. Okay, is that a good deal? Okay, so the funnel of licensing that comes out from MIT. So about 50%, as I said, are unlicensed. This point, I don't even know if you can see this pointer. I can see it over here. It's not very bright. Yeah, barely. Maybe I'll stand over here so you can see the pointer a bit better. So about 50%, no, that's not working for the lights, sorry. So about half of our IP is not licensed. Notice that most of the licensed IP goes to the sponsor of the research. So the licensing is heavily concentrated in the research that was sponsored by industry, which sort of makes sense, right? Industry comes, they have particular problems they would like us to work on. It's much more likely that we will be able to license it to them than to anybody else. And so part of what that says is that, and part of the reason why we are not trying to maximize our income from licenses, okay, I would say we are pretty generous in the terms that we offer industry for our licenses. We don't try to get as much payment as we possibly can, because what we really want to do is to encourage the companies to continue sponsoring research at MIT. We want to use licenses as a catalyst for a longer and deeper and wider relationship with the company that sponsored the original research. And so the sponsor, the industrial sponsor, does most of the license, takes most of the licenses. Some of it is jointly owned. We do a lot of collaborative research with industry. Often when there's a research program at MIT, there will be a visiting scientist from the company that is sponsoring the research that will be visiting our labs frequently. We also do a lot of joint research with other universities. A lot of our patents are jointly owned with another university because some of the work took place at MIT and some of the work took place at the partner institution. And the rest are technologies that are licensed to other parties. So we do marketing of our technologies. If you go to our website, you will see all the technologies available. But the main purpose of that is not to try to maximize our licenses. We use the marketing of our technologies to advertise the capabilities of MIT and to encourage sponsors and companies to want and come and talk to us. So if we can't be relied on to provide a big income stream to the university for our licenses, what is the value of university intellectual property? And Charles gave, when we were talking in his office, we were talking about these impacts. So first, to the university, what is the value of technology transfer? Well, I want to come back to something I was alluding to a few minutes ago, which is never, especially us who are in the most business side of the university, if you wanted to pick one part of the university that is most concerned with the private sector and the economy and enterprise, what we're still trying to do is solve the problems of society with invention, okay? To have a social impact, so that the world can benefit from the creativity and scientific approach of our academics. And we never forget that. We will never compromise our policies and the way we interact with the private sector to reduce the importance of this fundamental, trust that society puts in universities by giving us these advantages, by making us tax exempt, by subsidizing us, and also the trust that the students put into us and their motivations for wanting to invent. But we're also using our IP to attract research sponsors. Okay, I was talking about the financial impact of licensing, and let me give you a couple of numbers to illustrate that. Although most universities don't earn money from licensing, there are a few that do. We are one of the universities that has the advantage of being profitable in licensing because we're very big. We have a lot of good, we have a lot of advantages. We've been doing it very consciously for many decades also. But with all of that, our income from licensing is about $80 million a year, 80, okay? Our research budget is $1 billion a year, more than 10 times greater. We are much more interested in using licensing to increase the research funding of the university than to increase our licensing revenue, right? The licensing revenue is 1/10 of the research funding, and our licensing policies will attract more funding. So it's very important to see the catalytic effect of licensing on the overall financial support for the university. So after our social mission, our number 2 is we want to attract more sponsors of research to the university. Another important value of university IP, and one of the reasons why we file patents, is that filing a patent protects you, allows you to continue exploiting your invention. The same kind of work could be going on in lots of other places, could be going on in a corporation. One of our research teams might be working on a very important scientific discovery, and the research lab of a company somewhere else in the world may be working on the same thing. Well, that company might file a patent on exactly what our research team is working on. As soon as that patent issues, we have to stop doing research. We cannot do any research that has any potential commercial application. And so filing patents on our important inventions, we also do to ensure that we will have the freedom to continue our research. By the way, one of our IP policies is that every patent that we have is available for use free of charge by any other university in the world. Okay, so we will provide royalty-free licenses to all our IP to every other university in the world, which is, as you can see, part of the overall set of objectives. We also are quite aggressive about protecting our IP because we want to attract entrepreneurial students. We want to attract entrepreneurial faculty. Now, by the way, another important cultural comment. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to be a successful person, even at MIT, okay? Everybody's different. There are many students and many faculty at MIT that have no interest in entrepreneurship. Their interests lie in other areas, and that's wonderful, okay? We are sort of a kaleidoscope of people, and also the quality of our research and the quality of our teaching is the foundation of the university, as it is in every university. So I don't want you to take my comments to assume that there's any value judgment on communities in the university that have a different set of objectives. I'm really addressing the sort of the theme of this conversation. But we want to attract entrepreneurial faculty and students as part of our overall mission. And our IP policies are gonna do that. Let me try to get this mouse out of the way. Another important point is that our IP policies attract the interest of companies that want to hire our students, either just by being exposed to the work that's being done or by sponsoring research. You know, the research sponsorship will often lead to the company making a job offer to the student who did the research. Another point that can be very important is that universities play an extremely important role often in the economic development of their region. We live in a very dense and very economically successful urban environment, the Boston-Cambridge area, so this is not an issue for us, but I work closely with colleagues in the University of Massachusetts state university system, and they have implanted campuses specifically in economically less advantaged regions in the state of Massachusetts, and the technology transfer offices of those campuses are very, very focused on local job creation as one of the impacts of their technology transfer. And oh yes, we also hopefully will make some money for the university. But I hope you can see that the catalysts that we can help with can dominate this sort of the pure profitability of the technology transfer office. The university IP also has some significant value to companies, and I think it behooves us to be very conscious of those values to the companies. And now let me also make another comment that's, I think, quite relevant to this topic. 50% of the companies that sponsor research at MIT are not US-based companies, okay? 1/2 of all our industrial sponsors come from outside the United States. They come from Europe, they come from Japan, increasingly they're coming from China, increasingly they're coming from India. Companies are worldwide. They have a headquarters somewhere, but the entire planet is where they work, and a company that will sponsor research in a lab at MIT could just as easily sponsor research in a lab at ETS or in a French university or in a Brazilian university. In fact, the companies are not really driven by the university. Companies develop relationships with individual labs and individual professors who are doing the kind of research that that company is interested in. And so you have an opportunity, like MIT, on a worldwide stage to attract relationships with multinational companies. And so I think it's important for you to really showcase all the benefits and values to multinational companies to develop relationships with your research groups. Because university IP truly can be very innovative, often much more innovative than what the company with its own resources can develop in-house. And the patent system doesn't work all the time. In fact, the patent system was developed 100 years ago when technology was very different. It's not really well suited for a lot of invention, but it still works pretty well. And in some circumstances, a strong patent on a truly innovative technology can be really transformative for the company that has sponsored the research and is commercializing the technology. Also, universities are used to doing risky research. Okay, it's part of our it's part of our genetics. Risk is a problem for companies. And if they can pass some of that risk on to their university partner, it's of great value to them. It also reduces their development time. It actually turns out the research proceeds at a very fast pace at the university, typically much faster fundamental research than companies can do, and a lot of companies don't have those capabilities anyway. Another important value of the collaboration between the company and the university is that it creates a relationship with the faculty that can be sometimes a formal one, a consulting relationship, and sometimes an informal one. Another piece of data that you might find interesting. I will talk a little bit later about the IP policies that are important to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest between researchers and the companies that sponsor the research at the university. I'll talk a little bit about that in a while, but I wanted to mention one statistic is that faculty at MIT are allowed to consult for 1 day a week. Now, 1 day a week is actually quite a lot. It's 20% of the schedule of the faculty member, and many of our faculty who have developed relationships with sponsors will avail themselves of that and do consulting, sometimes with the sponsor. And I'll talk a little bit about how we manage that process to make sure that there is no conflicts of interest between the research that's going on at the university and the professional links that the faculty member has with the company. But this can be of huge value to the company. And working with universities has a quite measurable benefit to the brand of the company in big things and small. Companies are not shy about advertising the fact that they're working with universities. Their shareholders like to hear that. The investment community likes to hear that. There's a lot of brand benefit to the company that they're sensitive to. And the professional staff of companies love to work with university researchers. It's good for them personally and even psychologically. It's good for them professionally. There's a big impact that the university researcher has on the community of the technical staff at companies, because often in big corporations, the technical people don't really have the status of finance people or sometimes salespeople. And I think creating a link, a business link with a university culturally is very valuable to the technical staff of the company. And for a startup company, it's key to raising money. Small companies that go to a venture capitalist and say, we have an exclusive license to this brand new technology from the university, is the VCs are very sensitive to that, and often it's an important factor for them. So the same way technology transfer has a huge impact on the university in ways beyond the license, the actual transfer of technology occurs in lots of ways. And as the dean was saying when we were having coffee this morning, the graduating student. The graduating student is the single most valuable unit of technology transfer between the university and the private enterprise, but not the only one, of course. Publications, collaboration, outside consulting, I've mentioned these different aspects. So this is the big picture, okay, of technology transfer. Beyond what's the royalty rate going to be for an exclusive license in the following field of use. But technology transfer is a very important mutual commitment between the university and the company. Okay, the technology is usually unproven and it's high risk, but there's another risk that the university is taking with the technology when it does a license to a private enterprise. For a license to have real value for the company, there needs to be a certain degree of exclusivity in the license, right? If I offer a license to a company for a new technology and I tell them I'm going to offer licenses to all your competitors, immediately the value of that license has gone down for the company. But another aspect that's not so obvious but it's important to us is that if a company doesn't have an exclusive license, they're not motivated to invest a lot of their own money in creating the product, in creating the market. And what we really are doing is trying to incentivize companies to invest their own money in turning our invention into a product. And often it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. And so the quid pro quo, and in fact, the most important part of our negotiation with a company that is licensing our technology is not what is the royalty rate that they're going to pay us in return for the license. It's how much they are going to invest in their own money. And you might be surprised, but we will negotiate in a license how many people the company has to commit to developing their product and marketing it, what their marketing budget for our technology is going to have to be when they productize it. We want to see the resources that they are going to put internally into turning our invention into a product, because if we have given an exclusive license to a company, we are betting on that company. We are betting on the success and commitment of that particular company to commercialize our technology. And so that is the essence of the negotiation. How much exclusivity do you want? And in return, how much of your resources, how important is this project going to be for you? And if there is some change at the corporate level in the company and at the level of the board of directors, they decide that they are going to lower the importance of that sector and the company can no longer commit the level of resources to commercializing, we can take the license back and offer the license to another company. So this is the essence of the mutual commitment between the university and a company that is licensing our technology. So I want to talk a little bit about, by the way, I want to give you a sort of heads up. I'm going to be talking for another 20 minutes or so, which I hope is not a burden for you, but that should leave us about 20 minutes or so for questions and discussion, by the way. I'm very interested in if there's points that are ones that we want to discuss among ourselves, that would be wonderful. But we have another sort of 20 minutes to go. I have this topic and one other topic after it. So university policies regarding intellectual property. And I think the foundational principle of university policies regarding intellectual property is what I was alluding to a little while ago, which is the university has to maintain its charter as a nonprofit educational institution with a social purpose, and the integrity of research and the integrity of publication, and having taken care of those requirements to develop a collaborative relationship with enterprise. So here's examples of various aspects of policies that have been worked out over a long period of time that we are very careful about applying. All of them are on our website. Every policy in its most, the university is an open place. We don't keep secrets, we don't keep trade secrets. All our policies are on our website. How you deal with us is easy to find out. But here are some examples of very important policies that relate to this objective that I was talking about. Who should own the invention? How should royalties be shared? Okay? How do we maintain freedom of research and publication if we are working with companies that want to try to create an advantage against their competitors in the marketplace? How do we make sure that our resources at the university are being used for the objectives of the university and not solely for the objective of our partner? How do we encourage our faculty to participate in spin-outs without compromising the quality and commitment of their academic career? And what about potential financial interests? What happens if a researcher is taking money from a sponsor, but the IP is going to go into a startup company where the researcher is a shareholder? Right? This could create a huge conflict of interest. What happens if a faculty member wants to use one of their graduate students to do some work in the lab, but really the ultimate beneficiary of that work could be just the company that the faculty member is a shareholder in? Our faculty and students are well-intentioned people with really, I think, inspirational objectives, but it's very easy for them to walk into traps themselves. And part of what we're trying to do is provide them with as much freedom to do exactly what they want to do, but with a safety net so they don't run into these traps. And so we have very explicit and very clear policies on all of these topics that are really sort of guarded by the office that does the technology transfer. So how do you develop a successful technology transfer system? Well, it takes a long time. Okay, another message for the professional technology transfer people in this audience that you have to convey to your administration is that these are projects that have results over decades. And I mean decades. Several generations of graduate students and sometimes several generations of faculty to create these virtuous circles that we're talking about. You have to support world-class research over decades. And it has to be world-class because the sponsors, are these multinationals. They will go all over the world to find the researcher that's doing the kind of work that they like, and they won't hesitate to go all over the world. The multinationals that sponsor research at MIT are also sponsoring research everywhere else. And so part of the challenge for a university is to determine in what areas they can do world-class work. Because if you want to have this kind of an ecosystem at the graduate level, then you are going to have to pick the areas where you can be world-class. And understand what is your true place of greatness. And I'm one of the reasons I'm so excited to be here is the kind of talk I'm giving here, I've given probably 20 times in different countries, and with the same kind of audience, and I always learn a lot, and everything is different, but I always learn a lot, and I learn a lot by seeing the expressions on people's faces and walking down the halls and seeing what's up on the notice boards and what kind of activities are going on, and seeing the neighborhood of the university. And maybe I'm biased parce que je suis Montréalais, but I find that what's going on here is really, really exciting, and I think you're on the cusp of something truly great here. But it's something that's going to take takes a lot of dedication over a long period of time. Just a little detail slide here. I almost didn't include it because it's more sort of in the weeds, but this is actually a slide. You notice a little small print. I think this is one of the slides from one of the documents that's on our website. This sort of serves as two examples. One is the specificity with which we work, I guess, the process we follow, and that we try that it's not be mysterious. You know, this is all public knowledge. We try to be very transparent to work with. We don't want people to feel like we're this black box, and how we think and how we make decisions and what we care about is something that they have to learn over years and years of working with us. We try to be very clear about what our objectives are and why. So I think you can find this slide right on one of the sections of our website about our licensing process. Okay, so I have one more topic I want to talk about today, and then we'll be done. And it's topical, I think, everywhere. It's new, I think, everywhere, and I think you'll find it interesting here. It's definitely something that we're working on a lot at MIT, and it's sort of related, but this is what I was alluding to a bit when I talked about General Electric's decision to move to Boston. That the way corporations, now forget about universities for a minute, okay? Let's put universities, let's put MIT and ETS aside. Corporations are evolving very quickly in the way they want to work with startups, okay? Until recently, corporations either ignored startups or they saw them as acquisition opportunities. They have M&A groups, sometimes corporate venture capital groups that would, visit incubators, find little companies they were interested in, say, hey, we'd like to acquire you. And a lot of high-tech companies grow their product lines by acquiring small companies. There is an enormous change going on in the corporate world related to their relationships with startups. Sure, once in a while, they want to acquire little companies, but for a big company, the financial impact of acquiring a small company is usually not that great, because either they're not going to have a big impact, or if it's a truly successful small company, they're too expensive. The venture community will bid the price up of really exciting startups so that big companies don't want to acquire them. But what big companies really want to do is they want to have strategic relationships with little companies that they are not going to acquire, that they have no intention of acquiring, but that they want these little companies to have an impact on their ecosystem, on their way of thinking, on their product offering, on the way people in the company work. That is the reason General Electric moved their headquarters from Connecticut to Boston, to be in the ecosystem of small companies that they could develop strategic relationships with. I speak to a lot of corporate venture capital groups, and over I hear them say, we invest in small companies not with the intention to acquire them, but to strengthen a strategic relationship that the small company has already developed with one of our business units. Okay, so this is a very important development that's going on in the way corporations think about startups, and this is an evolution that we, the universities that work with industry, can be enormously helpful to both the corporations and the startup, because we take sponsored research from corporations, we spin out startup companies. We're a natural bridge in this evolution of relationships that corporations want to have. And you know, until recently, this is sort of the way, and I can say this truly about MIT, is there was like a great wall of China between our activities with big companies and our startup activities. I mean, it was a different source of funding. It was government funding for the startups. The industrial sponsors would sponsor research and immediately take a license back. And they didn't really coexist. There was very little contact. We are trying to break those walls down between our activities with the corporations and our activities with the startups in a major way. And there are a lot of fluid ways in which corporations can engage with university startups. The corporations are financing incubators. I gave you examples of incubators in the ecosystem around MIT. There's a very strong corporate involvement in many of those incubators. Increasingly, and I'll give you an example of this, corporations are interested in sponsoring research at the university where the research will lead to a startup that the sponsor can get involved with. There's also venture capital groups that are creating development companies whose sole purpose is to take the first steps of validating the technology and then become a division or an associated company of a large industrial company that may have been an early investor in that startup. So I started my presentation with an example, a real-life example, and I will finish my presentation also with a real-life example. And this was, the area here was a new technology for grid-scale batteries, multi-10 megawatt batteries that could cycle daily for decades. And if you're familiar with battery technology, this is a combination of characteristics which is rather unique. And one of our faculty members developed a new technology for these kinds of batteries installed in substations of the electrical grid that cycle liquid metals through the anode and cathode state. So this was a topic of great interest to the Department of Energy. And so the Department of Energy started funding this research. Again, like the example I gave you of the Liquid Glide company, the research started with some government funding. And it was totally blue sky research. Initially, basic chemistry of liquid metal batteries. And then a French energy company, Total, got interested in this. Total is one of the most aggressive, and I mean this in a positive way, energy companies in terms of transforming their business for the 21st century. And we have a very broad and deep relationship with Total. And one of the areas that's very important for their business strategy is to become a distributor of energy in the electrical grid using storage. And so they were very interested in this technology. Now, from the very first day they sponsored this work, they were not interested in becoming a battery company. Okay, they're an energy production and distribution company. They were not interested in creating a battery division, but they wanted access to this technology. And this was serendipitous for us because the team that was working on this research was like the team that was working on the ketchup bottle. They were entrepreneurs. They said, we would love to start a company that would develop this kind of a grid-scale battery. And so it was pretty obvious. So the discussion was, Total said, okay, we'll sponsor the research. You guys spin out a company, and we will be a strategic partner for the company. And in fact, when we negotiated the IP rights that came out of the sponsored research from Total, rather, what they were interested in was not so much a guaranteed royalty rate on a license. They wanted to trade their license rights for a right to invest in a startup company. And so those were the terms of the license to the technology that was developed at MIT that was sponsored by Total. And so the team finished their work. They spun out a company called Ambry. By the way, you can visit the Liquid Glide website, and you can visit the Ambry website, and you'll learn a whole lot more about the history of both those companies and what they're doing and the people there. And so the startup raised a Series A from venture capitalists. By the way, one of the investors in Ambry is Bill Gates, who's a big believer in the future of storage on the electrical grid. And also Total, and here's a picture taken. As you can see, these are not the kind of batteries you're going to put in your cell phone, but they serve an important purpose for electrical distribution companies. And so I thought I would finish on this note. I think I'm finishing on this note. And by the way, Total continues to sponsor research at MIT, okay? We want to figure out a way to work with our partners continuously on new projects, find new things that we can do with them, and also develop new relationships that can be mutually beneficial. Voilà, c'est tout. Ben, merci beaucoup à tout le monde.
Thank you very much, Chris.
So I'll be happy to take questions. I'm also very happy to engage in dialogue and to maybe clarify some points. If I didn't cover something that you were really interested in hearing about, I apologize for that. I'll be happy to take questions on topics that are important to you that I wasn't able to address. Et je peux prendre les questions en français ou en anglais, comme vous voulez.
Il y a 2 microphones, si vous voulez, si vous avez des questions, allez-y.
Oui, bonjour monsieur. Hello.
I just have a quick question. What would your advice be, let's say, for a student that found a way to make something implausible feasible? His supervisor says you should publish in a journal, a disconnections and industry and whatnot say you should patent, but be careful, you can't do it on your own, right? So that kind of struggle.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for a person in that position?
Okay. Did everybody hear the question? Okay, that's okay. I can. Is that microphone working, by the way?
You turn it on. Just turn it on. Turn on the thing.
If the microphone is working, I'd prefer if you repeated the question. I could repeat it, but if it'll work it better for you, Vic.
Thank you, sir. Don't drop it. Okay, so. All right, can everyone hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. So my question is, what advice would you have for a student that is found a way or a solution to make an implausible venture feasible? His supervisor might say you should publish in an academic journal, and his connections and family friends say you should patent or find funding, but be careful that even if you patent, the lawsuits and whatnot, you can't, like on your own, will be very challenging. So what advice would you have for young adults with that struggle?
Right. Well, you're asking a few different questions, and they're good questions. So let me just make a couple of comments. No, that's very good. Number one, we never, ever get in the way of publications. Okay? Licensing is important, and publishing your results are important, but in a university, publishing is foundational. So we never get in the way of... Companies will keep research secret for years, and they should. And the reason they should is related to your second theme. The patent system is very imperfect. It's a blunt instrument. It's expensive, it's inefficient, it's unpredictable. It's sort of an almost obsolete tool, but it's all we've got. So, depending on the circumstance of your research and your project, the patent system might help you a lot, or it may not be very helpful. I had a meeting with a researcher yesterday. We talked about his research. It was really exciting for about an hour. And the purpose of the meeting for him was to get from me when he should file a patent. And at the end of the meeting, I said, never. You're not going to be able to get a patent on this. I think you can start a company. I think you could be very successful. But the patent system, is there feedback from one of the microphones? Maybe, is this microphone on, maybe? Or maybe I'll step back a bit. So, how do you resolve all these problems? So first of all, I think the university has to be committed to evaluating your invention, and if it's patentable, and if it makes commercial sense to patent it, you have to file a patent before the publication. And part of the reason why technology transfer is not profitable for universities is we are forced to file patents sooner than we would if we were private enterprise. But that's, that's just part of the deal. The questions you ask are very circumstantial. You have to get good advice. Okay, we have this venture mentoring service at MIT. We make it very easy for people like you to get specific advice on your particular situation from people who've been there. And you have to seek it. One of the qualities of entrepreneurs is they are really, really good at getting a lot of good advice from a lot of people. They have a radar that's turned on all the time, and whenever they run into somebody who can give them some advice, they get the advice. And whenever they run into somebody who can't really help them, they don't talk about what they're doing. Okay? Don't talk about what you're doing to people who can't help you, because they have no need to know. But when you identify someone who can really help you, develop a relationship with that person. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
So, hi, I'm from a small startup in the additive manufacturing sector.
Vous pouvez demander en français si vous voulez, monsieur.
Oui, j'ai quand même un bon accent. Donc, je suis dans une startup dans la fabrication additive, l'impression 3D. Donc, d'un côté, il y a les brevets, justement, qui sont très dispendieux, tant à avoir qu'à défendre par la suite. Et pour une startup, le risque de se planter sur un brevet, c'est un peu une sentence à mort. D'un autre côté, on parle de VC qui vont demander à avoir, en fin de compte, des licences ou des droits de buyback à un certain moment donné sur les patents de la compagnie parce que c'est un peu sa valeur. Et on a déjà entendu des histoires d'horreur où une start-up qui laissait trop ça traîner, quand les VC arrivent, que les license transfer commencent à sentir l'argent, ils vont crank up un peu leur demande, ce qui va briser le deal. Pour une start-up, ma question est quel genre de deal on devrait essayer de faire avec les universités, à quel moment, pour être sûr que tout le monde y trouve son compte finalement?
Est-ce que vous préférez que je réponde en français ou en anglais? Je veux quand même un peu capter.
Same.
C'est bon? En français, c'est bon? Oui. OK. Je vais tutoyer, OK? Parce que moi, je tutoie tous les étudiants à MIT. Quand tu vas négocier avec le VC, c'est la première fois que tu vas faire ça. Tu ne t'y connais pas, tu n'as aucune expérience, et le VC, c'est la 50e fois qu'il le fait. Okay. Il faut que toi aussi, tu aies des gens qui te conseillent, qui connaissent ça. Cherche des conseillers qui connaissent ce marché. Numéro 2, tout ce dont on parle, ce sont des relations humaines. Okay? La décision la plus importante pour toi quand tu parles au VC, c'est est-ce que je peux avoir confiance dans cet individu? Est-ce que je peux créer un partenariat de personne à personne où quand le plus je lui parle, le plus je me sens à l'aise, le plus je lui parle, le plus j'ai confiance en lui, ou est-ce que c'est l'opposé? Et si tu es bien conseillé de ton côté, et si tu es en train d'avoir des conversations avec des gens qui au niveau très viscéral te font confiance et tu te dis on peut vraiment former une équipe, le reste va s'occuper du reste. Ok. Et quelquefois ça te prendra longtemps, tu parleras à 50 personnes avant d'établir ce genre de contact.
Si vous me permettez de renchérir, c'est bon pour la partie VC et maintenant pour la partie l'entente avec l'université. Qu'est-ce qu'une start-up devrait essayer de s'entendre pour les brevets que l'université possède finalement?
Oui, merci de me rappeler cette partie importante de ta question. Je vous conseille de faire vos déclarations d'invention à votre service de transfert de technologie trop tôt au lieu de trop tard. Il n'y a jamais trop tôt, mais il y a trop tard. Commencez à leur parler très, très tôt dans la recherche, bien avant qu'il y ait une discussion d'un brevet à déposer. L'étudiant qui a commencé à travailler sur les batteries de métal liquide, il est venu me parler quand il a choisi son thème de thèse, avant de commencer sa recherche. Établis ce rapport avec les professionnels dans le service de transfert de technologie trop tôt pour qu'ils commencent à y penser avec toi. Crée une équipe avec eux au début pour que vous puissiez faire les étapes ensemble.
Je vous remercie beaucoup.
D'accord.
Mes 2 collègues sont de l'ETS. Moi, je suis de Sherbrooke. Désolé d'être un imposteur.
OK, parce que non, c'est bon. Parce que pour les étudiants de l'ETS, il y a un conseiller à la recherche dans chaque département. Consultez le conseiller à la recherche pour les déclarations d'invention. Il sait quel genre de projet avec le superviseur. Merci.
Merci. Le nom d'entreprise, c'est? Dice Design, on est spécialisé dans les composantes qui vont dans le cœur des imprimantes 3D.
Merci, monsieur. Oui, monsieur.
Bonjour, mon nom est Thierry Pagé. Je travaille pour le bureau de transfert de la propriété intellectuelle de l'autre université d'ingénierie de Montréal, francophone, l'École polytechnique de Montréal, l'Université de Montréal, et ainsi de suite.
Avec qui nous travaillons beaucoup d'ailleurs. En ce moment-ci, personnellement, je suis engagé dans un projet avec des chercheurs de MIT et de Polytechnique.
Okay. Et je voudrais dire que Dice Design, c'est une super belle start-up. Ouais. Écoutez, vous avez mentionné dans un de vos commentaires que la valeur d'une licence diminue proportionnellement finalement au nombre de licences qui sont faites. Dans un contexte de licensing de software, d'intelligence artificielle, où il y a beaucoup d'open source, comment vous gérez ces aspects-là et pour apporter de la valeur à l'écosystème finalement?
Bon, alors, un détail important. La valeur de la licence diminue si c'est le genre de licence qui demande un investissement important du licensee. Hein? Ce n'est pas tellement le cas dans le logiciel. Et pour nous, on fait des licences exclusives seulement si la commercialisation de la technologie va demander un investissement très important à l'entreprise. Parce que si la commercialisation ne demande pas un investissement important, on n'a aucune raison, on préfère donner des licences à autant de compagnies que possible. Donc c'est assez contextuel. Hein? Okay. Maintenant que j'ai dit ça, est-ce que vous pouvez répéter le reste de votre question? Parce que vous voulez vraiment être sûr de faire ce point.
Dans le contexte de tout ce qui est le nouveau domaine, en fait, c'est un domaine qui est maintenant très à la mode, l'intelligence artificielle.
Oui.
Il y a toute une culture aussi de open source.
Oui.
Donc,
oui.
comment est abordée cette thématique-là, en fait, au MIT?
Oui. Je me déplace un peu. J'ai l'impression que c'est juste ici qu'il y a le feedback. Le système de propriété intellectuelle marche très mal pour le logiciel, en général, et c'est un outil qui a été créé il y a 100 ans, et on fait beaucoup d'open source à MIT. On a d'ailleurs il y a des genres de licences de open source qui ont été développées à MIT. Vous pouvez aller sur notre site et voir toutes les technologies qui sont disponibles en open source. Et dans ce cas-là, ça demande une stratégie pour le start-up qui ne dépend pas d'une protection de brevet. Et donc, c'est pas vraiment une réponse à votre question, mais on pourrait faire un colloque entier sur la commercialisation des technologies qui ne sont pas brevetables. Okay? Parce qu'en général, ce n'est pas brevetable, mais il y a toutes sortes de modèles économiques basés sur l'open source et beaucoup d'exemples d'entreprises qui ont fait un succès énorme entièrement basés sur l'open source. Donc c'est un peu spécialisé par rapport à ce que je disais. Okay.
Bon, bien, on va se réunir, la communauté ici, et on vous invitera pour un colloque sur l'open source.
Ben, je ne suis pas spécialiste de ce domaine, mais j'ai des collègues qui le sont. Alors je serais très content de vous mettre en contact avec eux.
Merci.
Merci. Vas-y.
Bonjour Christopher, François Santerre. Je travaille pour le Conseil de recherche sciences naturelles et génie, NSERC, au Canada. J'ai toujours cru, et je crois encore, qu'au Québec, on a un des meilleurs écosystèmes d'innovation pour plusieurs raisons. Une des choses qu'on fait, entre autres, à Montréal, on implique beaucoup les étudiants, je crois, à l'ETS, à Polytechnique, entre autres, au travers des écoles d'été, des opportunités d'avoir un hands-on experience. Le CRSNG, on a un programme promotion pour ça, entre autres. Une chose que je sais, et c'est récemment en place au MIT, c'est Pathways to Invention, pour impliquer tous les jeunes de secondary school, elementary school, up to university. Est-ce que vous pourriez parler de comment, how does it link up to the MIT Innovation Ecosystem?
Non, je suis conscient de ces activités-là. Je ne participe pas du tout là-dedans. D'ailleurs, je parlais récemment à un collègue qui travaille beaucoup avec une autre organisation qui fait des promotions de projets d'été pour les étudiants high school. Je ne sais pas comment on dit, j'ai oublié. Les derniers cycles scolaires. Pour leur donner des possibilités de faire des projets d'été à MIT. Mon fils a bénéficié de ça. Ça a été une raison pour laquelle il a eu une place à MIT. Il a travaillé un été dans un laboratoire. Alors, on est engagé là-dedans, mais ce n'est pas un domaine que je connais très bien, malheureusement. Je suis conscient que ça existe, mais je ne peux pas vous le dire.
Peut-être en échangeant par courriel, vous pourriez offrir des contacts. Je pense que c'est une autre zone où on pourrait un peu apprendre et bénéficier de l'un de l'autre.
Ça me ferait plaisir.
François, c'est celui qui nous donne de l'argent pour la recherche.
Ah oui?
Il est, oui, le CRSNG.
Oui, monsieur.
Oui, tout d'abord, je voudrais vous remercier du temps et de cette conversation fantastique. Un grand merci. En tant qu'étudiant de l'école d'affaires à l'Université McGill, je fais un MBA en ce moment et je voudrais avoir votre perspective aussi, puisque vous êtes aussi issu de l'école d'affaires de l'MIT.
Oui.
Quel est le rôle de l'école d'affaires dans la commercialisation de la technologie développée dans l'université et quelle est la valeur qui peuvent les étudiants issus de ces écoles-là apporter à ces processus?
Oui, alors on a des structures formelles. Par exemple, j'avais mentionné une des structures qui s'appelle iTeams, qui avait été utilisée par le groupe qui a fait le Liquid Glide. iTeams, ce sont des équipes, c'était un cours qui est donné où le cours a pour but de faire un projet de commercialisation d'une technologie. Et il y a dans l'équipe plusieurs étudiants de l'école de gestion et plusieurs étudiants de l'école de génie. Donc il y a ça. Il y a énormément d'intérêt dans notre école de gestion dans l'entrepreneuriat, des cours là-dessus. Et aussi, je dirais que la culture et ce qui est important a beaucoup évolué par rapport à quand j'étais à l'école de gestion de MIT, qui était il y a 30 ans maintenant. On faisait beaucoup de finances, on faisait beaucoup de modèles microéconomiques, on faisait beaucoup de control systems, marketing, etc. Il y a énormément sur l'innovation maintenant, sur les petites équipes, comment est-ce qu'on forme rapidement des équipes de travail, qui travaillent ensemble, qui travaillent dans un environnement culturel et organisationnel très flou. Et donc, ils prisent beaucoup les qualités personnelles des gens de travailler très effectivement dans des réseaux très peu formalisés. Et ça fait partie maintenant, en fait, des qualités qu'on recherche dans les étudiants et aussi du thématique de beaucoup des cours. Alors, je pense que Ça a pas mal évolué, je suis sûr à McGill aussi, et l'autre observation, c'est que beaucoup des étudiants dans les écoles de gestion ont travaillé avant, ont une expérience professionnelle, et c'est souvent pour nous des gens qui ont une expérience assez technique, mais qui veulent un perfectionnement dans les affaires pour ensuite pour monter un start-up. Et là, ils apprennent comment négocier avec le capital à risque, etc.
J'ajoute une chose, nous à l'ETS, on a un programme avec McGill et Concordia. Du côté ETS, c'est le professeur Vincent Duchesne et Natalia Nuno. Donc des ingénieurs de l'ETS, des médecins de McGill et des étudiants MBA de Concordia. Et nous, on a signé une entente trilatérale, on cède même l'API aux étudiants. Ils travaillent ensemble pour développer des dispositifs biomédicaux et dans le domaine de la santé.
Oui, bonjour, monsieur.
Oui, bonjour. Je suis Jérémy Voix, je suis professeur-chercheur ici à l'ETS et je suis en collaboration proche avec un partenaire de longue date, un partenaire industriel, et j'ai donc une chaire de recherche CRSNG, on vient d'en parler. Donc j'ai beaucoup aimé ce que vous avez dit à propos un petit peu du rôle du technology transfer et puis cette création de richesse collective, et que bon, les métriques n'étaient pas si simples parce qu'il y a des retombées un petit peu à différents niveaux, là vous les avez bien listés. Ma question quand même par rapport à l'intéressement que peut avoir l'université dans une compagnie, dans une start-up. Vous n'êtes pas vraiment revenu sur tous les modèles financiers qui existent, mais on connaît, je pense, les succès de Virginia Tech par rapport à des licensing de produits très
bonne
clés.
question.
J'aimerais que vous entendre parler un petit peu de ça.
Merci beaucoup d'avoir soulevé ce thème. Alors, de la même façon qu'on n'a pas d'incubateur à MIT, parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'incubateurs autour de nous, nous ne faisons pas d'investissement dans les startups avec le capital de l'université. Il y a beaucoup de capital à risque autour de l'université. On ne veut pas faire la compétition avec eux. On ne veut pas faire de sélection parmi nos propres startups. Et ça pourrait créer aussi des conflits d'intérêts. Maintenant, ceci dit, d'autres universités investissent dans les startups parce que leur situation est différente de la nôtre. Il y a des façons de résoudre tous ces aspects-là. Donc, pour nous, ce n'est pas une question philosophique, c'est une question tactique. Il y a beaucoup de capital à risque autour de nous. On n'investit pas dans les startups. Mais je pense qu'il faut regarder ça d'une façon globale. Qu'est-ce qui a le bénéfice? Ce qu'il ne faut pas faire, je pense, c'est d'avoir l'optique d'un capital à risque et de dire ça va être une source de revenus pour l'université. Personnellement, je pense que ça va foirer tout le reste, je pense, dans mon opinion personnelle. Mais c'est un domaine assez controversé, hein, le domaine de l'investissement des universités dans leurs start-up. Est-ce que j'ai répondu?
Oui, c'est ça. Puis éventuellement participation à l'actionnariat ou autre chose. Vous avez parlé des phénomènes, enfin des redevances et des royautés et autres, mais j'imagine que ça, par contre, la contrepartie existe quand même.
Oui, alors, on veut être payé pour nos licences, hein, mais on ne veut pas extraire du cash du start-up qui n'ont pas d'argent. Ça ne nous intéresse pas qu'ils soulèvent des fonds très très chers près du capital à risque et tout de suite ils nous écrivent un chèque pour 50 000 $. Ça ne va pas les aider. Donc on prendra du capital du start-up comme frais de licence si le start-up n'a pas le liquide, n'a pas assez de contributions de part de leurs investisseurs. Ça, c'est la seule situation pour nous.
D'accord. Okay. Mais merci beaucoup.
Vas-y, monsieur.
Hi, my name is Ruben. I'm a graduate student here at ETS. And my question is, which level of maturity should have a technology before contacting the company for creating a partnership or something?
Well, some technologies can be commercialized in 2 years, and some can be commercialized in 10 years. So I think the important question is not how far away you are from commercialization. The important question is, at what stage can the company add value? Okay, and at what stage do you feel comfortable disclosing very confidential information to a company? And those are the two questions that should guide you. I'm a big believer in only talking to people if there's some benefit to you. And so be very pragmatic about it. What benefit will you get by talking today to a company about your technology, and can you disclose your confidential information to them? That's the important factor, not how far. Companies are comfortable when they understand something and they feel that there's an opportunity in thinking 5-10 years ahead. That actually is not a problem. It's more a problem of you deciding when it's to your benefit to start engaging with them. And get the advice of mentors and advisors and people from the technology transfer office of your university on that schedule. And by the way, having one very in-depth conversation with one company is much, much more valuable than having 10 superficial conversations with 10 companies. I'm not a big believer in getting lots and lots of superficial data points. This is not like marketing consumer products. You are looking for a partnership.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Monica.
Bonjour, oui.
Je m'appelle Monica Papé, je suis ici conseillère à la recherche à l'ETS.
Est-ce que vous pouvez changer le micro-place un peu?
Donc, j'ai une question concernant ce que vous mentionniez plus tôt. Vous disiez que 50% des technologies que vous avez protégées ne sont pas licenciées ou pour lesquelles vous avez, en fait, nous, ce qu'on appelle ici à l'ETS, ce sont des, j'imagine, des technologies orphelines.
Oui, on utilise le même terme.
Oui. Donc, pendant combien de temps est-ce que vous patientez pour, en fait, éventuellement espérer de trouver un partenaire?
On abandonne le brevet presque immédiatement.
Ah, intéressant.
Presque immédiatement. Si le brevet arrive à ce qu'on appelle le first maintenance, 3 ans après, si on n'a pas d'intérêt, on abandonne.
Donc, vous allez faire la poursuite de la demande de brevet quand même, payer la taxe finale et ensuite attendre à la prochaine?
Non, on abandonne en cours de route.
Okay. Même si elle est en processus d'obtention?
On n'hésite pas à abandonner. Même en cours de route, on dépose le brevet, on reçoit la première réponse de l'examineur. Si on se rend compte qu'on va avoir une bataille énorme, et comme on met nos technologies sur notre site web au moment qu'on les dépose, sans exception, pour voir si ça intéresse, si on n'a pas d'intérêt et que l'examinateur du bureau des brevets nous indique que ça va être une bataille, on abandonne.
Et puis, les professeurs qui sont impliqués dans la technologie, comment est-ce qu'ils réagissent à ça?
C'est un partenariat entre les... il faut avoir vraiment une relation de confiance et très collaborative avec le professeur.
Et j'imagine que c'est mentionné au début.
Ils ont un intérêt énorme, intellectuel, académique, quelquefois financier. Ce sont les experts. Nous, on est les propriétaires de la propriété intellectuelle, mais ce partenariat avec eux est très très important et on peut vraiment pas faire notre travail sans avoir des très très bonnes relations avec eux, des relations de confiance.
J'ai une toute petite deuxième question. Vous mentionniez que les professeurs au MIT ne peuvent pas être des actionnaires d'une entreprise qui start-up à la limite, mais ils peuvent être des advisors ou des conseillers. Est-ce que c'est une politique du MIT et c'est pour quelle raison?
Alors, le professeur peut être actionnaire d'une start-up, mais à partir du moment où il est actionnaire de la start-up ne peut avoir aucune relation avec l'université, ne peut pas subventionner surtout la start-up ne peut pas subventionner de recherche dans le laboratoire du professeur. À partir du moment que le professeur, lui ou elle, est engagé dans la start-up, il n'y a pas de relation de recherche entre les deux.
Mais la start-up peut recruter des étudiants, j'imagine, en autant qu'il n'y ait pas de subvention.
Oui, et par exemple, si le professeur donne des conseils techniques à la start-up, il doit ou elle doit documenter au doyen de l'université exactement le domaine de recherche dans le laboratoire et le domaine de conseil et établir une différence très nette entre le travail qui est fait dans le laboratoire à l'université et le travail qui est fait pour la start-up.
C'est-
On prend
Ouais,
encore une question,
Vas-y,
comme
vas-y.
tu veux. Je pense qu'on prend encore une question. monsieur.
Oui, bonjour, Antoine, étudiant en ETS. Disons que mon frère fait son PhD en chimie au MIT.
Oui.
Moi, je suis ici à la maîtrise en énergie renouvelable. Pensez-vous qu'il y a un partenariat qui est disponible, qui pourrait se créer pour tourner une technologie qui serait créée au MIT dans le département de chimie, pour la tourner en compagnie à Montréal ou à Boston, peu importe? Et si oui, est-ce que c'est plus... Pensez-vous que les incubateurs qui sont présents à Boston seraient mieux vu que ça viendrait du MIT, ou ce serait possible au sein du Santec à l'ETS?
On a été partenaire de start-up autre part où il y avait des collaborateurs en dehors de MIT. Alors, il faut servir il faut faire ce qu'il faut pour que la start-up ait du succès. Hein. C'est ça ce qui est très important. Et si monter une entreprise à Montréal qui est basée d'une collaboration entre des chercheurs à Boston et des chercheurs à Montréal, si Montréal c'est le meilleur endroit, nous on va complètement soutenir ça. On est complètement agnostique à ce niveau-là, ça dépend des gens. Et bon, la plupart de nos startups sont localisées autour de nous, mais pas toutes. D'accord?
Oui.
Et mademoiselle, comme vous étiez déjà sur pied quand j'ai dit que cette dernière question, s'il vous plaît.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, je m'appelle Marie-Laure de Boutré, je travaille au développement des affaires ici à l'ETS et pour MITAX, qui est un organisme qui développe les partenariats entre l'université et le milieu industriel, les compagnies, pour favoriser l'innovation. Et ma question, c'est, en fait, vous avez parlé au MIT, comme quoi le MIT recevait à peu près 80% de ses subventions de recherche du gouvernement et 20% des subventions de recherche de l'industrie. Est-ce qu'il y a une volonté du MIT d'augmenter la part industrielle au niveau des subventions de la recherche, ou est-ce que c'est vraiment d'augmenter les partenariats avec l'industrie pour les tech transfers et pour l'écosystème aux alentours des startups?
Bon, je vous comprends la question. D'abord, on fait beaucoup de sciences pures à MIT. Alors, les chercheurs qui découvrent les gravitational waves, il n'y a pas de participation industrielle là-dedans. La physique quantique, les prix Nobel, on est très fiers d'avoir beaucoup de prix Nobel, mais eux, ils n'attirent pas beaucoup d'industriels. Alors, rendez-vous compte que pour nous, c'est 20% industriel, mais 50% de notre recherche est de la science pure, où les industriels ne sont pas engagés. Donc, je dirais qu'on est, pour le domaine d'activité qui correspond à ETS, on en est peut-être, je ne sais pas exactement, mais je dirais pas autant que vous. Okay? Je pense qu'on doit être au 45% à peu près. Honnêtement, ça nous sert d'avoir plus d'industriels. Comme j'ai remarqué, il y a beaucoup de valeurs pour nous importantes d'avoir plus d'industriels. Et aussi, notre gouvernement fédéral est en train de resserrer énormément les crédits pour la recherche universitaire. Ça, c'est un défi pour nous et pour toutes les universités. Donc, pour toutes ces raisons, on veut augmenter la part, mais on est en compétition avec toutes les autres universités, hein, parce que ce qui se passe chez nous se passe partout.
Et peut-être, dernière petite question un peu liée à ça, est-ce que vous n'avez pas peur que la science fondamentale soit moins intéressante pour des étudiants ou des chercheurs que tout ce qui est recherche appliquée qui se développe justement de plus en plus avec les intérêts commerciaux des grands industriels?
Non, je pense que les gens créatifs veulent être entourés de gens créatifs. Et alors, pour moi, tout ça, ça se supporte, ça se soutient, ça augmente la valeur de l'écosystème. Là, de ce point de vue-là, et ça, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on peut planifier. Ce sont des grands courants. Ok, merci beaucoup.
Alors, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup d'être venu. Malheureusement, il y a peu de temps, Chris doit revenir à Boston. Son fils se gradue le lendemain de MIT. Merci, Chris. Voilà. Le directeur du Santec.